Can you talk about the distinction between an intellectual understanding of the self-illusion and an experience of no self? And this is from Clyde Rathbone. Yeah, well, understanding it intellectually, which is to say conceptually, is interesting and useful, but does not at all demand that one experience self-transcendence or egolessness or non-dual awareness. I mean, these are all synonyms for the same experience. The understanding doesn't dictate that you would experience this directly. You can understand that there's no place in the brain for a self to be hiding, that just neuroanatomically there's no spot where everything comes together in an unchanging way for a stable entity, kind of homunculus that could be hiding there. Everything is just process. Everything is a kind of neurophysiological cascade happening everywhere at once in the brain. So there's just no unchanging unitary self carried through from moment to moment. So there's that brain-based criticism of the idea. And there are many other ways to see this conceptually. The self that people feel they have is piecemeal. It's always changing and never found and always interrupted. And when you look inside yourself, this is something that David Hume pointed out, and this is a very Buddhist way of considering it. It's when you look inside yourself, all you find are the changing contents of consciousness. You find thoughts and moods and sensations and a flow of experience that never conforms to this idea of an unchanging self. And it's very hard to conceptually understand what this self could consist of. It seems paradoxical. It seems like it's very much of a piece with the illusion of free will. Free will doesn't make any sense conceptually, and yet people feel that they have it. And that has always posed, or seemed to pose, this insoluble philosophical problem. We know we have it. We know we have a self. We know we have a self that is free to exercise its will in each moment. And yet we can't get this experience to conceptually gel with our description of the world, because the world does not admit of there being an unchanging rider on the horse of consciousness. All there are causes and conditions bringing forward mental and physical events. You can't step into the same river twice, in some basic sense, as a mind. So this has always been a problem, conceptually. But people have assumed that it is such an obvious and unchanging fact of the mind that what we have is a paradox. But it's not an obvious and unchanging fact of the mind if you turn the mind upon itself and look more closely at the nature of thought, how it arises as a process, and look for the thinker of the thoughts, look for the one that is appropriating experience in each moment, look for the seer of what is being seen, the knower of what is being known, and you turn attention upon itself. The name for this gesture is meditation, and in my book, Waking Up, and in the video associated with that book, I talk at length about how to do this systematically. And as I've said before, I'm now designing an app to help facilitate this process. But you can, through meditation, actually disconfirm subjectively the existence of a stable self or the freedom of will you imagine that it has, and cut through this illusion. And that is, yes, that is different than understanding that it is an illusion conceptually or has no obvious basis in fact.